Being a CEO is a tough job. The spotlight is on you, and every company decision becomes your decision. I often talk to executives about how they handle sitting in the hot seat, but rarely about how they prepare to take on that responsibility. Today, Under Armour Chief Executive Stephanie Linnartz is lifting the curtain for us. Stephanie stepped into the role just under 6 months ago and had to fill a huge skills gap to do so. Her entire life has revolved around hospitality. Stephanie's family owned, and still owns, a hotel and well-known bar in Washington, D.C. And she spent 25 years rising to the top of Marriott International. In her last role, she was president of the company, overseeing 8,200 properties in 138 countries and territories. Then, she decided to take a massive leap into the world of sportswear. Nowhere on her profile would you clearly read, "This is a person to lead Under Armour, a behemoth of a company that was going through years of sluggish performance." Here's how Stephanie Linnartz prepared for her first CEO role. I think we hear a lot about new CEOs and what they've gone through, but what's the prep like to become CEO? What did you do? How did you prepare for this role?
I was entering a new industry, so I did do a lot of listening and learning. So I did read every single thing I possibly could about the company and the stakeholders, read every analyst report, and that helped prepare me. So I walked in with some base level of knowledge about the strengths and the opportunities for the company before I began. But I do think some of the greatest learnings I got in that run-up to starting my job were spending time in the stores talking to the teammates. I was kind of like undercover boss before I was the boss. Yeah. And I would just go in and ask the dumb questions. Why do you do this? What's selling? Why is this over here? And I gained so much insight about things that we could do better in terms of merchandising the stores, or things that were resonating with customers and things that weren't.
Out of a sea of information must come decision-making. In the case of Under Armour, it was in desperate need of immediate action. Its shares had dropped more than 40% in the last 5 years, losing its reputation as the innovative sports company that had heavyweights like Nike and Adidas shaking. In planning Under Armour's revival, Stephanie developed a strategy called Protect This House 3, named after one of the company's most popular marketing campaigns. Stephanie outlined a new set of priorities to reinvigorate the brand. And she took a page out of her Marriott playbook, where she had grown its Bonvoy loyalty program to become one of the most popular reward programs in the industry. Now, Under Armour has one too, which offers customers opportunities like early access to products and meet and greets with celebrity athletes. You picked 3 big priorities for the company. I'm sure there's a million projects that people were trying to sell you on or can talk to you about that they're so proud of and they want to be your priority. How did you get to the point of saying these are going to be our 3 priorities? What's the way that a company or a leader needs to prioritize?
I mean, this is going to sound simple, sounds easy, does hard, I really think it's about focus, execution, and accountability. Mm-hmm. And so when I came into this role at Under Armour, I thought, well, we need to focus more. We can't do everything. We don't have endless money. We don't have endless people. We need to focus on a smaller set of priorities, and then we need to execute against them. And so that's how when I came into the company, there was 35 major efforts and projects, and I narrowed that down to 3 major buckets of work and 9 projects. So it's better to do a few things really well, or a smaller number of things really well, than try to boil the ocean.
And so if you had to eliminate projects, and how do you deliver to people the news that their projects are not going to be what gets prioritized under your leadership?
Well, and I had to do this at Marriott too, of course. You can't do everything. Nobody can. And I think people actually want you to say, we're going to focus on fewer things, and we're going to cut this project or this product, not forever, but for now, right? You can say, we're going to put that, on the back burner. But right now, and I've laid out a 3-year plan, for this time frame, that's just not going to be the top thing that we work on.
They're just looking for some kind of guidance. They want to believe they're in the right hands.
I think people really want that.
Stephanie has embraced guidance and mentorship throughout her career, but she takes a special interest in advocating for women and considers it an obligation to tell real stories about her experience as a working mother. She says she's always honest in telling women that work-life balance is not always a possibility. What she does say is focus on the long term. I want to ask you about a quote you gave to your alumni, the alumni magazine at your college. You were talking about your decision to go to the school. And you said your dad gave you some advice where he said, Holy Cross will not prepare you for your first job, but it will prepare you for your last job. Can you talk about what he meant by that as a leader?
Well, Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts is a Jesuit liberal arts college. And what my dad was saying to me is you're going to learn things about history and philosophy and religion and how to be a good person, how to be a good leader. In the case of Holy Cross, it's all about servant leadership. And what my dad was saying to me is, you can learn about accounting and tech and all that kind of stuff on the job after you graduate. But some of these fundamentals about what it means to care about other people is something you'll take with you forever, and particularly later in your life when you're a leader and people are depending on you, and when you're a parent for that matter, right? So I think he was encouraging me to think about the long term when I was selecting where I was going to go to college, and that's what he meant, that Holy Cross would prepare me not for my first job right out of college, but for my last job.
It's just so different than how I think people think about school today. This idea of building up skills, get the hard skills so that you can get the first job and continue building the hard skills. You get to the next job. But what you're talking about here is sort of building a framework that will enable you to just be a leader.
But I think it's about the learning how to think critically, learning how to make decisions, to have a framework by which you can digest a lot of information and distill what's most important. But it's the softer skills that are even more important in today's day and age with so much technology and so much information.
What do you tell people when they come to you and say, I want to have a career like yours? What's the advice that you give?
Decide what you want. Think about what you need to do. Nothing replaces preparation and hard work. And then go for it and take some risk. I've always been a believer that the rewards that come from risk-taking are tremendous, and I'd always prefer that than regret.
And you spent 25 years at Marriott, so do you believe in taking risks with your career too, jumping companies? Or would you tell people, find a place, invest in this one particular company?
Taking a risk can mean within the company that you work for, taking a risk in a different job within the same company, or take a different position in a different country, or it can mean, literally in my case, leaving an industry that I'd spent my entire life in and going into an entirely new industry. And I often thought when I decided to take a new job, or even when I decided to leave Marriott, I always thought about how bad could it be, right? I think the risk and what comes from them are much better than feeling regret for not trying.
Right. You spent a lot of time mentoring, and especially mentoring women. Is there anything in particular that resonated particularly well with young moms maybe, or young women?
I would always say you can do anything, but you can't do everything, right? And not all at once. So it's okay to say no, or not right now. I might take that on at a different time, right? I mean, I've had a lot of different opportunities come my way to join a board, to join an organization, or to speak at something. And sometimes I would have to say, no, I just can't do that right now.
Not right now, that's good.
Not right now.
So here's what jumped out at me. The skills that make you a CEO are the same skills that are needed to succeed in any job, or even your life. Her idea of not yet can help you politely let a colleague down or keep your head in the game when you're faced with a hard decision. Asking dumb questions not only helps you understand nuances of any job, but it serves as an ego check. Your education journey is never ending. So it's clear how a hospitality professional like Stephanie can smoothly transition into the CEO job of a completely different industry. I'd love to know from you, what skills do you think make for an effective CEO? Let me know in the comments. You can dive deeper into this topic on the This Is Working podcast or by subscribing to my newsletter.